Welcome to Pluralsight. You're now watching the module Implementation Planning. So there's a few things to consider when you're starting to implement your XtremIO cluster. First thing is use cases and workload. We'll get into these in a bit more detail, but it's good to understand what you plan to do with your new storage and make sure that it's actually a good fit. Connectivity types. As we've discussed in earlier lessons, XtremIO supports both 8 gig Fiber Channel and 10 gig iSCSI. What type of data do you plan to store on the XtremIO cluster? Really, the reason for this is deduplication ratio. You want to make sure that you are properly planning for the right capacity. Some data has high dedupe values, some have very low, and that will impact how quickly you go through the physical capacity of the cluster. Physical requirements. Do you have enough rack space? Do you have the right power? Do you have enough power? Things like that. You'd be surprised how many projects that we do that get held up due to things as simple as that. Things that you think would be very obvious, but in the end end up costing us a couple of weeks as things get prepped. Other services. Do you need to do replication? Are you having a disaster site? How are you going to manage that? And configuration prereqs. So there's some things you need to get ready before you start down the path so that you're not running around getting stuff like IP addresses and DNS names. So what are your use cases? Different use cases will dictate the number of bricks you need due to performance and overall capacity. Virtual desktops, for example, that's a very common use case for XtremIO. It's a very good one too. Usually in this, you should get very high dedupe ratios. Performance isn't crazy, but the problem with virtual desktops or VDI and storage is the fact that we used to have to kind of carve up different types of storage for different things. A lot of VDI environments are write heavy. They may be 70% write and 30% read. So we'd have to do RAID 10 sets for some things, RAID 5 sets for other things. Nice thing about XtremIO is you don't get into that. It's just fast. As we've talked about, there's no sets, there's no LUNs, there's no RAID types. Databases. Databases are another common use case, not the best for dedupe normally, but do often require high performance. And virtual machines, just kind of that mixed workload. Things will vary there depending on what you need. But those are your common workloads. But again, you can do anything with XtremIO. You could have a custom application, multi-tier applications, scale out, doesn't really matter. But you just need to think about what you're going to use, how many bricks you might want to start with. Make sure that you have enough bricks to satisfy the performance requirements. If you need more than, say, 150,000 mixed IOPS, you need closer to 250,000, and you might want to make sure you have 2 bricks. Make sure you understand your usable capacity and your logical capacity with dedupe, things like that. Just need to prep that, and really this is before you buy, even before you implement. So understanding workload, this is important. We just kind of hit on that, but you need to understand the type of work you plan to house on the XtremIO. If it's high performance, great. You want to know how high performance. If you need something like 250 or 300,000 mixed IOs, you may look at doing multiple bricks to start instead of starting with one. How's your data? Is it unique? Is it easily deduplicated, or are you going to run through that capacity in about a 1-to-1 ratio? How many bricks and what are your growth going to look like? How many to start? And right now, as of code 2.4, you cannot non-disruptively add a brick. So you can't wait 6 months, add another brick, and just have it restripe the data. That is coming, and it may be within 6 months of when this module was made, but you want to confirm that when you're ordering. So if you need a second brick in a couple of months, make sure you'll be able to do that non-disruptive, or you might actually want to buy the second brick right up front. That way you're not having to go through all that. And make sure that you buy enough up front to handle the performance requirements you need immediately. Again, these are very fast, but it's not uncommon to see people who need 2 or 4 bricks worth of performance to satisfy their needs.